Morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of Van Build Series Tech Talks with Curt. I'm Curt. In the background today, you might hear G Money. He is one of our cats, and he has spotted a blackbird out there, and so he's a little chatterbox. So I apologize for that if it's a little distracting, but in typical fashion for these Tech Talks, I think over the last 8 or 10 episodes, I have talked about specific aspects of the van build. The last one was on composting toilet, but I've done a series on anywhere from our recirculating shower to our 1080 watt solar panels, electric plumbing. I've covered a lot of the major topics in terms of van build. And today I'm going to take this in a little different direction. If you guys have been following, you know, we've been in the van for a little bit over 6 months. And so for us, it was time to do a 6-month conversion inspection / maintenance. So we are probably about a month from going international with our travels. So this has been our farewell series, and you can check out our travel videos to see where we've been and what we've been up to in the last 6 months. But we've had an amazing time touring the U.S. and seeing all the exciting things it has to offer. And I'll tell you, the U.S., as you guys know, is a huge place, and there's so many things that we didn't get to see. But part of the reason for the Farewell USA tour was to say goodbye to family and friends, and in some cases, people we hadn't seen for a long time. And we did that, and we really enjoyed it. The second part was to see some things across the U.S. that we had never seen. And the third part was really to put the van build, the conversion that we had done to turn this into a tiny home to a test. And we did not have plans to do any major rework built into our schedule. And so this 6-month conversion inspection / maintenance is really about reviewing what we experienced in the last 6 months and prepping the van for international travel. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through 5 things, and these are things that were important to us after what we've learned in the last 6 months, and also for us moving forward in our international travels. And so number 1 is suspension. If you guys have seen our van tour video, then you probably can tell that we have a fairly heavy build. We've got a big battery bank, we've got big water tanks, and we've got a lot of things in this van. It's a 4-wheel drive extended cab, 170-inch wheelbase, so it's the biggest Sprinter that I believe that Mercedes makes. And so when we have it all built out and all loaded down, we're just under the weight limits for the vehicle. That said, as we traveled in all the national parks and other areas on these gravel roads or dirt roads, quite honestly, they were just bumpy and rough. We were a little concerned because our suspension was bouncy and it was shaking the van and rattling everything inside. And we think that the roads are likely going to be worse as bad as we go through the travels in the next 3 or 4 years. And so we wanted to address the suspension. We put another leaf spring in. So this Mercedes Sprinter came with 2. We had that changed out and put an additional leaf spring in there. And then we also upgraded to some new Koni Shocks. And what I will tell you is it has been a huge, huge difference, guys. We couldn't be happier with that. It was kind of a big spin. And but what I will tell you is we feel like we got the value back in spades, because the ride on these roads since then has been huge. We also, I should say, had a beefed up sway bar put in, and the sway bar is kind of what keeps the van from rocking back and forth, particularly if you turn out of an intersection or whatever, and it's got a drop off, and the van would kind of just wobble back and forth a little bit more than we felt comfortable with. And this new sway bar, the new leaf springs, and the new shocks have done wonder. So if you're pushing the weight limit in your van, I would encourage you to take a look at this. And so I'm not a suspension specialist, so I can't really talk into details about that, but we did find a company and they did a pretty good job. So we're really pleased with that. Number two, the second thing we've done, and this really kind of goes, I guess, for everybody, but we had our 20,000 mile service maintenance done. And this was something that, obviously it's scheduled maintenance. So it's something that, per the manufacturer's recommendations that we did, it included things like an oil change, a fuel oil filter change, fuel filter, air filter, and a couple other items. Now, I'll just make a note on this, and hopefully this helps you guys. But we called around to 3 different Mercedes dealers. And what's interesting is when I talked to each of the Mercedes dealers about what they would do for the 20,000 mile service, which is recommended and outlined in the user manual, they all came back with kind of different things that they would do. So I didn't necessarily have a warm, fuzzy feeling about just going to the Mercedes Sprinter van. I took our user manual and I also took what the other folks had to say and went to a non-Mercedes mechanic and had a discussion with them about doing the inspection and the service. And honestly, it was about half the price. So I was getting quotes anywhere from $1,100 to $1,300 for a 20,000 mile service from Mercedes. And I think I paid right around $650-ish. And so, again, just a little nugget to you guys. And I totally understand if you want to go back to Mercedes, or, if you have a ProMaster to Dodge or whatever the original manufacturer of your and do that. But what I will say is if you're looking for an opportunity to save some money and read your manual and understand what the inspections are, then I think you can have a huge savings opportunity there. So again, just something I'll share with you guys. Hopefully it helps. And so if so, just give me a thumbs up. The third thing that I had done was a tuning. Now this is done through a computer, and basically there are some different companies out there. I think we used a Malone tuning program. We had a mechanic tune the engine, and basically what this did was give us a little more horsepower, and it also gave us a little better fuel mileage. Now we've checked since the fuel mileage since then, and haven't noticed a huge difference, but we have noticed a huge difference in the power, particularly when we're climbing hills or when we're taking off from a stop position. So the lower gears, we're definitely noticing more horsepower. And yeah, it's been a worthwhile investment for us. Again, just trying to get the van tuned out so we don't have any issues moving forward. The fourth thing that's on the list to do, so this hasn't been done yet, guys, is under chassis weather protection. If you guys have watched our videos, you know that I have a lot of stuff under chassis. I have water tanks, plumbing, filters. So my recirculating shower filters are under there. My sink filters are under there. So I have a lot of plumbing under chassis. So obviously that's a concern in freezing temperatures. Now our plans originally were not to be any freezing areas before maybe we get down to South America. Well, it's been a cold year and we've been in some elevation, and so we've already experienced a couple freezing temperatures. I think I lost a spin down filter because I think it froze and it compromised the plastic and it broke. So I need to get a new spin down filter. But the long story short is we can't afford to continue to have water, our tanks and our plumbing freeze up. And so that's going to be a 2-part weather protection. Snow came up with a brilliant idea, so she's clamoring to be a special guest on the next Tech Talk so she can tell you about the idea. I'll probably tell you guys about it, but don't tell her. But anyway, no, but so I have something. I'm gonna do a whole video specific to the under chassis weather protection. I'm probably a couple weeks from actually doing the work. And so I will let you guys know exactly what I do, how I do that. But I think we have some cool things that are really going to make sense. And for some of you, may make it possible to consider putting some of your plumbing under chassis. I know there's a lot of people who live in colder climates who just, put their water and their plumbing inside the van for fear of the freezing factor. So I'll let you know what I end up doing and how that works out. And so that's the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is just general inspection. And this is a big category, so I'm going to break this down into different components. But number one, I'm going to inspect the electrics. So I'm going to go back. You know, when I originally converted this, I didn't have a ton of electrical experience, not that I do now, but I want to go back and I want to check all my connectors. We've been on some bouncy, bumpy roads. We've kind of beat this van up. And I just want to go back and check and make sure all my connections are tight. You know, all my connectors are on solid. And I want to go through that. I want to make sure that none of my wires are wiggling or moving. So where I need to use zip ties or other protective mechanisms, I'm just going to go through the electrical system and just really tune that up if it needs it. It may be fine, but I want to give that a thorough inspection before we push off. Number two, construction squeaks and creaks. Again, beating the van up. You know, we have some places, and look, guys, it's a van, and so as you can see, this cupboard above me right here, there's food in there, and so when we bounce around, some things bounce around in the cupboard, and there's going to be a fair amount of noise when you're on a bumpy road in a van that you live in. But what I'm going to do is just go through and where I have a squeak, I'm going to check all the cabinetry and make sure that nothing's loosened up or nothing's compromised, that we're really going to be solid from that aspect moving forward. I have some door handles that are loosening up, so I'm going to go in and put some Loctite on those and tighten up. And to just generally go through the van and tighten up everything that needs to be done with that. Then number three, the third part of the inspection is I'm going to inspect the shower. You know, we've been using the heck out of that thing. And so I just want to check under the tile and all that, or not necessarily under the tile, but I'm going to go in behind the shower and just make sure that we don't have any water intrusion, any leaking, that everything is sealed up like it's supposed to be. And so we can have a level of confidence with that. We move forward. I'll just make a note on the shower, and for those of you who've watched the recirculating shower video or the recirculating shower maintenance video, and I think we did a Q&A, but I let you guys know that I changed my fiber filters from fiber to carbon. So I went all carbon filters when I changed my filters out at the 4-month mark. And I told you before that I've noticed a bit of improvement. I think if you guys are building, I would go with the carbon filters. That would be my recommendation at this point in time. I still want to get some more showers on them, but right now they are working really good, and it's been a noted improvement in terms of water quality and in terms of maintenance. I just noticed it's the system's staying a lot cleaner. So it's really, really good from that aspect. And then the fourth thing of the inspection is I just want to go through and look at everything, how we've stored everything, how we've packed everything, how we use it, and just look at any opportunities for general improvements in the van. And I'll give you an example. So when we built the screen door, when we were traveling to Illinois, and I'll link that video right here, but that's actually where when I was staying at my buddy's Todd's house. And oh, by the way, hi Tuscany, we're thinking about you. Tuscany, by the way, is one of our biggest and most favorite fans for sure. So hey Tuscany, little shout out for you. But I'll link that video here. That's when we put some, also in the cabinets, we put some extra shelving in. And I need to do a little bit more. I can make the cans lay down flat. So I can definitely make some improvement to improve our storage, and I think also not have stuff bouncing around in the cabinets more. Some more storage, stuff not bouncing around, that's a huge win. So those are the types of general improvements that I'm talking about. There's not going to be anything major, but I am going to take the whole bed frame out and in the back where we have the air conditioner, the laundry chute, all that stuff. Guys, I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to look for an opportunity to, now that we've been in the van for 6 months, we know what we use all the time. We're going to streamline this thing a little bit. Nothing major, but just some general improvements. And so, yeah, that's kind of our review after 6 months of some of the things that I'm going to be doing coming up here and some of the things that I've just done. And preparation to go international. But, you know, I just want to close by saying this. You know, if you're spending a lot of time in your van, especially, you know, if you're getting out there on some rough roads and bouncy roads and things like that, it's probably a good idea, you know, to every 3 or 6 months to do one of these heavy duty inspection maintenance, tighten everything up, you tighten all the screws up and get everything lock solid so you don't have any issues. You know, preventive maintenance is just the way to go. And I'll also say, guys, if you're loaded up, if you're converting your van, look at that suspension. That thing, that was a game changer for us. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching our series. We're going to have some exciting episodes coming up. Obviously, we're going to have the weather protection coming up. Also, don't forget to check out our travel series. You know, we were just in Bryce Canyon, and that place is one of the most amazing places I've ever been on. So check that out. I did a hike there, and then we have a new exciting travel series, travel video coming out on Saturday. So Saturday's when those videos come out, so you'll want to tune in for that. Hit the notification bell. And then we're also due for a real talk real soon. And I think Snow's got some Christmas ideas for van lifers. So with Black Friday and I think it's Cyber Monday coming up, you might find this video useful. So stay tuned, hit the notification bell. That should be coming out soon. Cheers, guys. We'll see you on the next one.